This is another part in the psychology of high performance. So really what we're going to be talking about today is deliberate practice. A lot of the times, when we're trying to improve at something, we just think, okay, more practice, more practice, more practice. Well, I hate to break it to you, but more practice isn't necessarily the right answer, in the sense of if you keep doing very similar things that are not growing you, not testing you in some sort of new way, you're not going to improve. And so you really need to have deliberate practice, which means that you're looking at your exact weaknesses and your strengths. You have to be very honest with yourself. And this is something everybody struggles with, of course, but assuming you can be honest with yourself and say, okay, what do I really need to improve? Like, for example, if you're trying to lead a business and you're like, okay, my public speaking is pretty good. My technical skills are pretty good. My understanding of the product's pretty good. My sales is pretty good, all of that. Then you're like, what else is there left for me to improve? And then you really think about it, and you're like, oh wait, my leadership needs improvement. So think about this. Deliberate practice is saying, okay, in that situation, you need to practice more leadership. You need to go to leadership summits, leadership conferences, talk with other people, read some books maybe. That's deliberate practice, and you're gonna see a much greater improvement from practicing that because you needed that, right? And your company will hopefully do better as a result. Practice would just be like, okay, I'm gonna practice my sales, I'm gonna practice my public speaking, I'm gonna practice my technical skills, I'm gonna practice all these things at the same level. And I will also practice my leadership, but I'll practice it just the same as the other ones. And that's really not what you need. Each person is different. We've all gone through different experiences. You may need help with something I don't need help with, or vice versa. And so you shouldn't spend time practicing what you're already good at if you have deficiencies in other areas, because those other area deficiencies are the most important thing that you actually need to try to turn around and improve. It's like if you have 5 people in a team and you guys are running a race together and you're all tied together, wouldn't you want to make the slowest person faster, right? You wouldn't want to make the fastest person faster, right? Because that's not going to help the team. Because if you have someone who can run, let's say, a 4-minute mile, and you have somebody who out here who can run a 10-minute mile, and they're like tied, you guys are tied together as a group, right? That's a representation of what your body is and your skill set. If you have all these amazing skills, but there's one that here that's just terrible, you don't want that. What you want to do over time is raise your baseline, right? So your baseline of skills, you want just to continually increase as you work on the lowest ones, because those are the highest priority ones. Yes, you do need to improve, the other aspects for that person, like your public speaking probably could use improvement, but it's because your leadership is so lacking, that is the most urgent need. And to be successful, you have to understand that you have to deal with prioritization and urgency. You need to figure out what is the most important thing for you to do right now, and then reevaluate that every couple hours, so based off of whatever piece of work you have to do, either assignments for schoolwork. If you do something that's due today, that's better than if you do something that's due in 2 days like today. Because what'll happen is, let's say you work ahead, but you don't finish what it's actually due tomorrow. Well, now you still have more work to do and you can't take a break, and it's really complicated because you didn't prioritize correctly. So that comes all back to deliberate practice, and how by prioritizing things and selectively practicing them, you can actually have almost, not just a doubling of your skill or a doubling of improvement. You can also have a quadrupling or even a 10x improvement, because who knows, maybe the thing you should have actually practiced, you're lacking so heavy in, and that's actually what's hurting your performance. You'll never know though unless you actually have deliberated practice. And it saves you so much time because you're spending your time, effort, and energy on the thing that actually matters, right? And that's going to have a big impact. Versus you spend your time, effort, and energy on something you're already good on, and it's gonna have a very minimal increase, and that increase is gonna be overshadowed by your big deficiency in public speaking or something, or your big deficiency in being unable to look people in the eyes or something like that. And so it's all that effort and energy is kind of almost wasted. Yeah, you got some gain in in your technical skills. Oh wow, now you know how to code one more thing. But that doesn't really matter, because if you can't talk to people, nobody cares if you can code, right? Or if you can't collaborate or work on a team, nobody cares if you have the skill set. So deliberate practice, probably the best return on investment in a sense of time, right? Because you're able to just improve yourself very rapidly and noticeably by hitting the most red flag things, right? It's if you had an area, let's say, that was burning, and right next to it was another area that was not burning, right? Wouldn't you want to save the area that's actually burning first before you go and try to say, oh no, let's stop the fire from spreading, right? Because if you try to stop the fire from spreading and try to prevent the other area from burning, what's going to happen is that first area is going to burn down, right? And that's the whole point. It's if you don't practice and improve the skills that you actually need to improve, that are just so significantly lacking, that's really, really bad. If you don't practice those, you're just going to continually be dragged down by this weight of your inefficiency and inability of these skills. They're just going to hurt you so much. Versus if you actually practice them and improve them, and then eventually you can just keep improving. So this is a lot from my personal experience, something I've seen. And I think that if you really want to go to that next level, you can't just have normal practice. You really have to have specific, tailored, targeted practice. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next part of the series.